Okay, welcome everyone. We are continuing on here. A bit of a special. I think everybody should have gotten an email and possibly the Facebook notification from Annie and Shake and Wake radio station. We are on Shake and Wake. And I am Stephen Roberts, as everybody does know me, but I am introducing a brand new host for today after Lucas' show. We're going live today, but his schedule may change, and he is on the West Coast. So we may end up having to record and do it that way. But today we're going live because his schedule permits that. But I do want to introduce Bob Wilson to the network. And tell us what your show name is, Bob.
Well, we're calling it I'm Looking Through You. It's kind of a name I've had for a while, but I was thinking in future ones, I was thinking about maybe calling it The Word. So today we're going with I'm Looking Through You, but if the network and everybody's on board with that other one, I thought it might be called Bob Wilson's The Word. So we'll float that to the listeners. Maybe in chat they could say if they like the title for the show as The Word or as I'm Looking Through You better. If you have a preference, please send us a note. We'd appreciate your input very much.
Well, I'm not sure it's really going to matter. Whatever you choose, I think, but they can chime in also. But let's start out with a little bit of your background. I know I'm conducting this very first one, and you do have somebody off in the wings that you're going to introduce here in a few minutes. But a little introduction
A
about
mystery
you.
caller and author of great import waits in the wings.
Oh, okay. Do you want to bring him on now, and then we can start with you?
Yeah, let's let him wait a little bit and sweat it out. We'll hold it as a mystery. Everybody will be wondering who's coming on. It'll build up some expectation.
Right. But give us a little bit of background about you, though, Bob.
Let's see about me. Well, the things I think that we kind of want to cover on the show, which stem from my interest, are I believe in Jesus Christ as my risen Lord and Savior. I came to Jesus at 19. I'm very grateful to be in a place where I can speak openly about that. So thanks so much for having me here. I thank the Lord for bringing me in the narrow way, so to speak, to be here with you guys. Thanks so much for having me, and I'm glad I can be on and speak about Him. From the way I came to Christ, which is a story into itself, which we can get to another time, I guess, or later in the show, because we have our guest in the wings, our special guest. But I did, at 19, I also got very interested in the JFK assassination because I heard some things about it and I wondered if they could be true. Is this just urban legend? What's going on with this? So I didn't know how much time I would spend on it, but it's been since that time to today, I've been looking into it, and it fits in so much with world events. And the murder in and of itself was horrible and changed our country. But I find that as you study it, it teaches you about how the world actually runs and how the world system runs. And I found that to be very enlightening, and it's been a life education for me, combined with prayer, asking the Lord to show me more about that and bring people in my sphere who could, come on shows such as we're having today and extrapolate on it. And not only for the sake of the case just itself, but I hope that it would help our audience members who want to know more and are learning to hear some people, and we could learn together more facts from people who were involved in that. I've also looked into RFK, who died, right after his brother, soon after his brother, and the way he died so horribly and how that affected America, how he might have been our president for, possibly 2 terms there. Who knows how that would have changed Vietnam and different things. So I've had great interest in the Kennedys, and I also have written for music magazines. Live for Live Music is one, and another is Beatles magazine. I'm a Beatles fan. I'm not so thrilled about glorifying any drug use and any, they explore different religions, so that's not my favorite stuff. But, in life we've all done, probably had experiences one way or another with those things, and so have they. But so we've tried to have guests on who know about them and some things that happened in the 60s that are a little lighter. And, Pastor Paul Begley's out there. I consider him a friend, and he's got that big podcast, and he's telling people about current times. He's come on the show a few times, and I think he'll come on with us. So that's the kind of stuff we want to do, and wherever the Lord leads us. And I thank everyone for being here today. And thanks so much to Steve for being here today, without whom none of these things would be running. So I'm so grateful to have him on board.
Well, I think you're going to be well appreciated.
Well, that makes me feel good, especially this week. But we do have a special guest in the wings. He is an author, a raconteur. He's had his own podcasts, which are very interesting. He's a friend of mine, which shocks me. I was told by John Barber that I had to have this guy on one of my shows, that he's a can't miss guest, and he just needed to be on, and people weren't paying enough attention to him, but now they pay more attention to him as each week goes by. He has the Hidden History series of books. If you're into what they maybe sometimes call conspiracy theory, sometimes they use that as a derogatory term, but Don is a researcher, and he vets and puts notes in with all his work. His podcasts are excellent, and he is joining us today at my request to make my entrance into the show a little smoother and to make me feel more comfortable, as Steve has done too. In this episode 1, it's a little nerve-wracking for me. So welcome to the show, my pal, Don Jeffries.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Bob, and you're the only one that calls me a raconteur. I like that. I appreciate that. Your vocabulary is always interesting, so it's nice to be referred to as that. I'm not sure I am, but we are friends, and it's nice to be on your first show, and I'm sure it's going to be the first of many.
Well, tell us about the Hidden History books. How did you start writing those? I know you in the day as a youngster, you were working in Mark Lane's office, the legendary JFK researcher. Tell us a little bit how you came to be in the sphere of Mark Lane, and how your work kind of came from there. That's where the seeds, broke open and started to blossom into your work.
Well, that started me, the JFK assassination is what started me down the wayward path, down the rabbit holes as a teenager. And I just, I read a few books on it, and I had always loved the Kennedys. So I was maybe predisposed to be interested in this subject. But once you, as you know, once you start studying this, at least if you're in our sphere, maybe some people can look at it and just say, that's not interesting. But for most of the people that you find that's in this dysfunctional, fractured research community of ours, most of them became obsessed with it once it just grabs you. And the minutia grabs you, and you can become carried away, as we do sometimes. We were talking about a witness earlier today that I'm sure nobody knows. And you can get captured by just even a very small portion of it. It's fascinating stuff. And the cover-up is so big, and the conspiracy is so obvious that, it's very frustrating when you have to try to explain to people that actually don't think there is a conspiracy. They buy the fairy tale. But as a teenager, I was grabbed by it right away. And when I heard that Mark Lane, who I read Rush to Judgment, one of the first books I read, and still probably the most famous book ever written on the Warren Report, is a New York Times bestseller. And Mark Lane was probably one of the few critics of the Warren Commission that actually made some money doing it. The rest of them certainly didn't, I can tell you that. But I heard that he had this outfit called Citizens Committee of Inquiry, and he had chapters all over the country. So I was in Falls Church, Virginia, and his offices was Washington, D.C. So I said, hey, can I start a chapter here? So they were happy to do that. And I ended up being able to meet him. And so it was really thrilling as a teenager to meet one of my heroes. And from that point, I never looked back. I mean, it's always been my passion. I've gotten involved in other things. And when I decided to write Hidden History, it was published in 2014, I said, I'm not going to write just another Kennedy assassination book. There's so many out there. And I think these things are interconnected, which explains why so many people in the research community have issues with me and don't respect my work, because I think there are connections in all these things. And I think this is, we're being ruled by very corrupt people. And I think they conspire on a daily basis. It's the way they do business. They don't know any other way. So it's not, to me, the JFK assassination didn't happen in a vacuum. So I connect all these things. And that's what Hidden History is about. I mean, it involved the first independent investigation into the death of John F. Kennedy Jr. I think that was another assassination. And I think I was the first one to really document that. And I'm still writing about it, as you know, and you're helping me with it. So Hidden History led to Crimes and Cover-Ups in American Politics, 1776, 1963, which had a foreword by the great Ron Paul. Very honored for that. And that's kind of the prequel. That talks about older conspiracies. Went back to the founding of the Republic. And now you're helping me. You've helped me so much with Hidden History 3, more from the American Memory Hole, which I don't know, that title may be changed once it gets to the publisher. They usually change my titles. I think they're so great and they change them. And it has a lot more. I think it's got 150 pages on JFK, a lot of deep diving there, as you know, and some of the things that I'm interested in and you're interested in. So hopefully people like it. So far, there, I have other books that have been published, but the books, the hidden history ones, just sell a lot more copies. So that's why I'm just gonna start a hidden history series because I love the stuff and that's what people want to read.
Well, it's excellent stuff, and Ron, Paul, George, and Ringo. Little joke there. But we move over to, one thing that was very interesting as we began speaking and becoming friends is I don't hear it from people all the time, especially, other researchers and stuff. They say what they think, but I was stunned when you were talking to me one day and we were getting to know each other, and you said that you'd had on, I don't know if he's a reverend, but Ken Hovind, yeah. And he talked about creation, and much as myself, you felt that there is a creator out there, and I thought, wow, yeah. And you'd actually had him on your show, which takes some gumption when you bring it out into a secular forum. So tell us a little about that. What are your views on a creator?
Yeah, well, I think creation proves a creator. I mean, look all around you. I mean, I think I don't know how anybody, what is it? The fool has said in his heart that there is no God or something. I mean, I don't really think that many people think there is no God. We've talked about this. I think most of the atheists actually hate God. They're rejecting it for whatever reason. It doesn't seem to me like they're being dismissive of him. I don't think, at least the way you can tell by the hostility that comes out. There's anger there. Would you be angry at Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny for not existing? No, but they're angry at God, and there's a lot of reasons why. They're afraid of being judged, as we all are, maybe, and they, for whatever reason, they've bought into the propaganda all throughout my lifetime that we're just a random speck in an endless universe, and we're on a giant spinning ball, and we all evolved from apes who still exist, though somehow we evolved, but some of the apes stayed behind. So I'm not afraid to tackle these subjects. I think modern science largely is ridiculous, to be honest with you, and so I confront them on. I'm not going to back down from that, and it's certainly the most literal interpretation of the Bible makes far more sense to me than what they're selling us. So yeah, I've never. I mean, I'm terrified sometimes of whoever created us. Because I can't comprehend it. We can't comprehend it. But I would never. I mean, who am I? We can't even explain we look around us and where did all this come from? I don't believe that there was a giant ball and there was a big bang and it just suddenly burst and created all these incredible things. And I used to show my kids when they were little. We would go in the backyard and everything, and we'd find box turtles, and I would just show them the intricate art. On a turtle shell. I mean, that's not necessary for evolution. I mean, that has the hand of like a magic artist, on it. And you see it in everything, butterflies and of course, there's a lot of horrible things in nature too, tsunamis and things like that. But if you look around you and you look at the mountains and the clouds and the trees and giant redwoods and things, some of the scenes from the great waterfalls. I mean, I don't know how you can't see something way greater beyond our comprehension in that. And so I think that's why when we talk about these things we mentioned, I think this is a spiritual battle. And I know what side I'm on.
I know what side you're on too, and I'm glad you're on that side. You're an intelligent guy and a man of faith. But what do you think about the tomb on that third day? Do you think that tomb was empty? Are we tied in? Like, you talk so much about current events. Is there any overlap into the current events that you cover with such great insight, using your communication skills to bring those shows out to people and your books out to people? Do you think there's possibly a connection between current events and what's going on and what Scripture says is supposed to happen to us in the days before the second coming of Christ, or something to that effect?
Well, you're the real expert in that area, Bob, and you remind me, you can bring these things up, and you're right on the nose with it. I mean, I have read the Bible, unlike most people, or I've read the New Testament, and again, unlike most people, including a lot of Christians. So I'm familiar with it, and certainly I think you see a lot of the same kinds of things, because you know what happened after Jesus's body disappeared. What was the first